Hello and welcome to Epicentre. I must first of all apologize for a slight delay in starting today at our usual time. We start at 7:30 p.m. IST. We were handling a bit of technical issues on our end, so I apologize for that. But here we are with a scintillating episode. Hello and welcome to Epicentre. No ambiguity, no noise. Let's come straight to the point. Today, we turn our attention to India's borders. We know that all is not well in the border areas in Himalayan region. Relations between India and China have been worsening. The two powers are facing off against each other along their disputed border in the Himalayan region. The root cause of all this is an ill-defined 3,440 kilometer long disputed border. The topography along the frontier means that this line, this border, can shift, bringing soldiers face to face at many points, sparking a confrontation. The two nations are also competing to build infrastructure along the border, which is also known as line of actual control. The border is the makeshift border right now is known as line of actual control. India's construction of a new road to a high altitude air base is seen as one of the main triggers for a deadly 2020 clash. This, when India is late in building infrastructure in Himalayan region and China has been at it for a very long time. But simmering tensions involve the risk of escalation, and that can be devastating given both sides are established nuclear powers. There would also be economic fallout, as China is one of India's biggest trading partners. Epicenter of all this in many ways is Ladakh. We rarely look at this issue from the point of view of Ladakh, and that's exactly what we'll do today. I am honored to have Ambassador P. Stobdan in the Epicenter studio today. Ambassador is a distinguished academician, diplomat, author, and foreign policy expert. He is the founding president of Ladakh International Center, Leh. He has authored several books, policy briefs, strategic commentaries, and monographs. He has written and he writes op-ed articles for various national and international journals and dailies. His latest book includes the very important The Great Game in the Buddhist Himalayas, India and China's Quest for Strategic Dominance, that was published by Penguin Random House in 2019. Welcome to the show, Ambassador Stobdan.
Thank you, Madam Vashisht.
Thank you. I'm really delighted because, as I said in my opening statement, we rarely look at the border issues and we rarely talk about Ladakh in our conversations. We rarely talk about people of Ladakh in our conversations. We just look at it as a skirmish or as a problem between India and China, forgetting that there are people in Ladakh. So I wanted to get a view from Ladakh. So my first question to you is, how has Ladakh been post reorganization of the state in 2019? We all know that Ladakh did not want to be under the yoke of J&K, Kashmir Valley for sure. So now that it is a separate union territory in itself since 2019, what does it look like from your point of view from Ladakh?
Well, firstly, I'm not from Ladakh. I'm from Delhi. And I don't speak for Ladakh and the Ladakhis. I'm an individual, retired person. And these are my personal views, and I don't hold any responsibility speaking for the region.
Absolutely.
But,
understood.
Yes, but you are right that what happened in Ladakh after the abrogation of 370 on August 5th of 2019, frankly, this was a wise political move. It was a watershed movement.
Yeah.
Certainly. I think in the media, this was dubbed as a historical blunder being corrected in one stroke. You didn't have to create a revolution or many political upheavals, but in one stroke, it removed many contradictions that the state of Jammu and Kashmir held for such a long time, a region that was infested with endless disarray and turmoil, terrorism and other things. So, politically speaking, the abrogation and the reorganization of the state was the best political exposition of the ruling BJP government. Let's accept it that credit must be given where credit is due.
Absolutely.
And I really applaud the government in doing that, because in one stroke, as I said, it ended the sufferings of the Kashmiris out of the vortex of terror, and now it has been fully integrated with the country. It is also important to see how the government has rationalized the territorial reality of J&K. The fact was that 82% of Jammu and Kashmir was neither Jammu nor Kashmir. it was Ladakh and Gilgit-Baltistan, and continues to be so. Today, Ladakh and Gilgit-Baltistan, the whole region, under the new map, is bigger than, I think, a couple of countries in Europe.
True,
It's
it
bigger
is.
than, yes, it is bigger than Andhra Pradesh in our own country, bigger than Punjab in our own country. So can you understand the significance of how this creation or reorganization of the state carried? So it is uh, a watershed movement in trying to correct the flawed arrangement that we had for 70 years or even before, where the people in 15% area ruled the population of the rest of the 85%. Now that was a disparity, not just political disparity, but all kind of a disparity it carried for 70 years. And I think this was a very big step by the government. It also shook the neighboring countries, including China, which quickly tried to intrude into Ladakh in 2020 with the change state, and along with Pakistan, it went to United Nations Security Council also on the issue of the abrogation. If you recall, in
Absolutely.
2019-20, they went there.
Mhm.
So, uh, but at the same time, as the UT has come into being in both the states, Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh, two separate UTs, there are obviously initial hiccups. I see some kind of a teething problems in transition. Those are inevitable because these are long historically drawn problems. Uh, which would certainly take time because the administration there, both in Srinagar and in Leh, had the task of rebuilding the region, which was hopelessly backward
Yes.
both in J&K and Ladakh, nothing was there. Industry was non-existent. Uh, Region was simply living on subsidies provided by the center government, loan waivers, and all kind of sort of quick fix solution that over the 70 years we practiced. So the entire reorganization and restructuring of the administration, legal system, and other kind of things certainly took time. Arranging the employees, assets, financing the two region in different brackets had certainly taken time. But nonetheless, I think it will take some time to smoothen the system in Ladakh. uh, I would say it is work in progress. I won't say UT after 3 years is a success,
Yeah.
but it is certainly work in progress. And the government has been giving a lot of money, more than 6,000 crores. Initially, it used to be a few hundred crores. Now, thousands and thousands of rupees have been allocated, crores of rupees have been allocated since 2020, 2021 financial year. So it's a great effort by the government to change the reality of Ladakh in terms of development. And of course, for the people of Ladakh, this bifurcation of J&K came as a startling news. It was a dream come true. If you recall, the Ladakhi demand for separation from Kashmir was older than the Telangana movement. It
Yeah, true.
started in 1947 itself. But nobody considered their issues, their sentiments. But nobody also expected that it will come so suddenly in 2019. So, and that too without any effort, political effort. So there was no political process involved in creating the Union Territory system. So that's why I think it will take some time to politically settle the issue of whatever problem people are facing there. But at the same time, to people like me as a historical um, student of history and student of politics, it was historical reenactment.
Hmm.
Would say, to put in perspective the raising the profile of Ladakh from a district to a union territory.
Yeah.
It's like correcting the long history and the dignity of Ladakh, the
I agree.
identity of Ladakh as a Himalayan kingdom that it used to be till it became a part of J&K in the 18th or 19th century. So today the profile of Ladakh has gone up, merely from a district to a full, I won't say full-fledged state, but it's a union territory. It's a major step ahead, and I would say it's people felt being liberated after 185 years of slavery and coercion under the leadership of the valley.
Yeah.
So that was very significant.
Absolutely.
Yes. At the same time, I think uh, uh, you know the glorious history of Ladakh. I mean the role Ladakh played during the wars with our neighbor adversaries with China and Pakistan,
Hmm.
and geography it held. It never corresponded to the district status. So that was a major. Uh, of course, there's been a full of history of the discrimination uh, uh, against the Ladakhis by the Walis. Also, it was no longer valid to keep Ladakh under the J&K system because of the militancy.
Yeah.
Ladakh was already, unnecessarily getting dragged into this terrorist stack. And 2016, we have seen that, especially after post Burhan Wani's incident, the incident of pro-Azadi protest, hartals and all the shutdowns have started taking place even in Ladakh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a very dangerous uh, sort of,
Situation, and it needed to be
situation.
done, and this
Yes,
reorganization needed to be done. Thank you so
yes,
much for giving us a little bird view and a realistic view that, even though we have corrected a historical wrong, we should not expect, it was not a magic wand, things are not going to improve in a heartbeat. It will take a while, but at least we are on
yes.
the right path and things are moving. And I totally agree with you that, and I agree with the word that you use. It's a little harsh, but I totally agree with the word that you use, that Ladakhis were discriminated and it was under the slavery of Valley. I completely agree with you. I want, as a student of history, Ambassador, I want to ask you, because a lot of our viewers, they are millennials, Gen Z. I wanted you to give us a brief history, very brief history, and people will then go and read your books and other books, but just touch upon, how did Ladakh become part of J&K, and how did what has been the history of Aksai Chin then going to Pakistan, as in when Pakistan gifted it to China. So Ladakh lost a part of itself. So give us a little snapshot of what is happening there historically. What happened to Ladakh?
Well, history of Ladakh is not very ancient. It's very much medieval, from the medieval period, from 1682 onwards. It was a small kingdom, as I said, in the Himalayas, independent kingdom, I would say,
Mm-hmm.
like Bhutan, like Sikkim, and other places. But when Ladakh was invaded by the Sino-Tibetan troops in 1682, 1683, it was the Mughals from Kashmir who tried to save Ladakh and pushed the Chinese out from the Demchok border, from the Pangong Lake. And there was a treaty signed between Ladakh and Tibet, Sino-Tibetan authorities. And a treaty was signed, and that treaty led to demarcation of some kind of a customary border. And that was continued for a long time, even during the Maharaja period, during the Dogra period, till 1947. What happened, as you're talking about the Pakistani gifting Aksai Chin, it was not the proper Aksai Chin, but it was the what Kasgam Valley, we call it, the Trans
Yes.
Karakoram.
Yeah.
In a way, you are also correct. because there are two type of Karakoram region, the Eastern Karakoram and the Western Karakoram. The Eastern Karakoram, India and China has a dispute. On the Western Karakoram, Chinese and the Pakistanis had a deal in 1963 through a negotiation and give and take kind of a thing. So the Pakistani approach to the border issue with China was negotiable. With us in India, border problem with China is non-negotiable. So the problem remains, the status quo continued. Of course, that area which Pakistanis have ceded to China was part of the Hunza Gilgit region of POK. But this was ceded to China in 1963 through a border agreement to settle their border difference. Of course, the story goes back to 1953 when the Chinese intruded here in that area, which the Pakistanis ceded in Hunza area. You know, the Pakistani Chinese troops came into Shamshal Valley, Gilgit, Baltistan, and China. Of course, Pakistanis were not happy that time with the Chinese, but because of the hostility developed between India and China, the Pakistanis took the opportunity to settle their border with China and gifted some territory in exchange of some kind of an, agreement. But Article 6 of that agreement, which Zulfikar Ali Bhutto signed with the Chinese, Chow En Lai, in 1960, says that this will be settled after the Kashmir problem would be settled between India and Pakistan. So it's subject to review later on when India-Pakistan finds a peace solution for Kashmir. Then this issue about the Western Aksai Chin or Western Karakoram will be resolved through a formal discussion. That was the context. But of course, that laid the foundation. The mistake of Pakistan was by gifting that area to China, they thought Kashmir problem will be solved. Kashmir problem has not been solved. So their calculation went wrong. The only achievement they got was that it laid the foundation for the Karakoram highway, in Kashgar and Gilgit or wherever, Pakistan, that in 70s they built that road. That is the only achievement. Otherwise, there is nothing that Pakistanis have achieved by gifting that area to China. But
they have, by gifting that, they made China a part of this conflict, right? Now a stakeholder in the conflict.
Of course, I think that the CPAC, as you see, the kind of construction which the Chinese are doing in this area, in Shkazgam Valley or in Baltistan and Gilgit area, we object regularly on the annual basis, whatever the activities they do under the CPEC, now new project they have between India and China, China and Pakistan, the economic corridor, CPEC, in that area that is going through troubles now. It is taking nowhere. But what I'm worried is that the Chinese, there is a Trijunction, like in Doklam, we have Trijunction with China, Bhutan, and India. There is a Trijunction here at this part where Indian border point at Siachen Glacier, Chinese border, and the Pakistani border meets at Shkazgam Valley. Okay. Now, this Trijunction is dangerous, and the Chinese have been building some kind of a road here since 2017. There is a valley called Terem Shahar, which India can easily take through a military force anytime. I expect that Indian military must be preparing to take Terem Shahar in a case of conflict in the future.
Interesting. I have one basic question, because we get into the complexities so much that we forget to ask basic questions. What is China's interest in Ladakh apart from territorial expansion? We understand that even after post-1945 World War, China did not give up on territorial expansion, even though most countries did. We very much know that China is interested in that. So is it merely greed of land? What is it that attracts China to Ladakh? Why does it want Ladakh?
Well, they have their own narratives about Ladakh. They have their own historical claims about Ladakh. We may not agree with that, certainly. Like we have a narratives about Ladakh, the Chinese too have a narrative about Ladakh. And their narrative, according to my reading in the Chinese media, they are tracing the Ladakhi connection with China from the Tibetan history. Okay, so the Chinese follow the Tibetan route to claim to claim Ladakh.
So they think that because Ladakh is our, Tibet is ours, so Ladakh is also ours.
Yeah, because they said Ladakh was part of Tibet. All that kind of a thing, which in a way Indian people also believe. The Ladakh is more known as a little Tibet, a part of Tibet. The Indians don't make any narrative of their own. Nobody talks about Zorawar.
Right? This is not true.
No,
Ladakh should not be known as little Tibet.
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that what is Indian narrative about Ladakh? You don't talk about Zorawar Singh. You don't talk about Ranjit Singh. We don't talk about anything in the Delhi discourse. Why we claim Ladakh?
Yeah.
Ladakh has not fallen in the Indian part from the sky. There must be some history. You see, from the, as I said, from Aurangzeb period, Ladakh has been part of India. But how many people talk about Aurangzeb and Ladakh, Ranjit Singh and Ladakh, Hari Singh and Ladakh? So what we talk is about, well, this is a Tibetan culture, this is Tibet. So that is Chinese narrative. That's Chinese narrative. We are proud of being, so I really don't know who is thinking on these lines, and was it coming from the European scholars, or this whole notion about Ladakh being a Tibetan culture. Of course, there are monastic connections. I have more association with Tibet than I have association with, say, with Punjab. Religious, sentimental, cultural, all kind of things. But the fact is that we are part of India, and just keeping few soldiers, keeping some administration there does not make the point that there are no historical narratives. And that historical narratives of Ladakh being part of Tibet is propagated more by Indian media, more by Indian scholar, copying the Western narratives. Of course, the American narrative is to liberate Tibet, and under the new Tibet, liberated Tibet, Ladakh will be part of Tibet. That's the American roadmap for Tibet. They do not separate Ladakh with Tibet. So we don't have an alternative discourse on that. That's the problem. And the problem is being compiled, and where we are fixed there now, where we're stuck, that we are not able to get out of that narrative. So we are falling into the Chinese trap day by day. The more you try to associate Ladakh with Tibet, the more it is good for China, unless Tibet is an independent country, which no country in the world recognizes that. So there is a problem of a mental construct, narrative, story building, or whatever that you want to discuss. So I think whatever problem that you see now, after the abrogation of 370 also, the mood in the Ladakh among the people is changing. While we used to be against the Kashmiri leadership, today they are not so happy with the way the New Delhi is trying to treat Ladakh. So the mood is changing in favor of I won't say, but some kind of an identity, and I don't know what kind of identity that is, but that's certainly not in favor of the country.
Do you think Ladakh suffers from an identity crisis right now? Because I agree that the Indian narrative on Ladakh hasn't been as it should be, but overall, the narrative from Ladakh hasn't come either. I haven't seen that coming from Ladakh. So do you think it's because there's lack of platforms, or do you think that there is some identity crisis there as well? Yeah, go ahead, sir. I can hear you.
Well, I think the sentiment of Ladakh was not in favor of Jammu and Kashmir. That's true. But that's a long pending sort of a sentiment which they held for a very long time. But as I said, the mood is changing. and that mood is more into religious affiliation, affiliation along that resistance against the majoritarianism. You may call it Hindutva, or you may call it they don't like to be controlled from outside, that their land will be lost to outsiders, their job will be lost, so identity will be lost. That's their fear. So they want some kind of a, while they are not against the Indian constitution, the India as a nation, but they want dignity and a space under the Indian constitution, and they're seeking some kind of a protection. While 370 has gone, which was mother of all the protection, they want a smaller protection in the garb of sixth schedule, which is essentially given to tribal people in the Northeast. Well, I do not agree that the Ladakh is comparable with Northeast. Northeast is purely tribal, while the Ladakhis are purely Buddhist or Muslims, very highly advanced societies with literature, philosophy. Buddhists talk about shunyata, moksha. So how they would like to be treated as tribals is puzzling for me. But I guess it's all about protecting for the protection of their land, protection of their culture. They say protection of their resources, which I think every society does it. They assert. In Punjab they do, in Haryana they do, everywhere they do.
No, every society
So
is
I think
entitled for
Mansi
that
said the right,
protection.
but to an
Every society
extent
is entitled.
they may have been misled.
Yeah.
Misled by some people from outside to seek a tribal law, which is misplaced. I think tribal is going backward, not a forward. It's not a progressive idea to be treated as a tribal. You're an advanced society. You should be looking forward for a much better solution rather than going back and looking for a tribal means. It's a isolated pockets, backward economically, socially. So I think it's a case of Ladakhis being misled from outside, but I think over a period of time they will understand. I would answer your question in a way, said that since there is no articulation coming from Ladakh, you could say there is a lack of intellectual discourse, or lack of, I would say, intellectual vacuum. There is no proper articulation of what they should think.
Yeah.
Their case is a demand-based politics, not issue-based politics. Like in Kashmir, I see there are a lot of issues.
Yeah.
It's ideological issues. It could be religious issues. It could be many issues. In Ladakh, they have demand. The problem is, if one demand is fulfilled, there would be another demand. So this demand-based politics, regional politics, is it's not really an identity-based politics. It's a demand-based, and so therefore, I think it's a very narrow approach to understanding the politics of Ladakh, the society of Ladakh. It's a society. It's not well educated. There are no educated class, barring very few. So it will take time. It will
Yeah.
take time to
I think Ladakh also
mature,
needs
or
Ladakh also needs its
to
homegrown
understand the
politicians.
nuances of Indian constitution.
Yeah.
So this is how it is.
Yeah. Wouldn't you agree that
Yeah.
Ladakh also needs homegrown politicians, homegrown, people of stature
It's something.
who can speak pan Ladakh, not just in districts, So there is one voice coming from Kargil, there's another voice coming from Kargil. Maybe there is a need for a pan Ladakh voice. Just a moment, I will get the audio taken care of. I think Ambassador cannot hear us for a moment. We're just taking care of it, sir. Just one moment. Just one moment. Can you hear me? No. Can you hear me? There. I think they're working backstage, so just give us a few minutes. Just one moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you are. Okay, we are hearing an echo.
Yes, I have a code.
Yeah, they're taking care of it. Okay, so I was asking you, is there a need for homegrown politicians? A politician who can be a pan Ladakh leader. Not just one district, one group. We have a leader in Kargil, and then we have one in Leh. A pan Ladakh a politician, a leader. Oh no, you cannot hear me. Okay, they're trying again. One moment. Sir, you don't try anything. They will try audio on their own. So they'll fix it. They're working on it. There.
It's getting cut.
How is it getting cut?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. Okay, let's take care of the echo, please. I can still hear some echoes. Echo is taken care of.
Yeah, there's some noise.
Okay, yeah, please get the noise taken care of. Is it okay now?
Okay.
Okay. Can you hear me, Master?
Now it's good.
Okay. So I was asking, my question was, a third time is a charm, third time lucky.
But
Is is there a need for a pan Ladakh leader? Because we haven't seen that happening. No? Okay. We're having issues. So my team is, they're saying don't. They're asking you not to touch anything, Ambassador. They're fixing it on their own. Okay, can we do this, please? Are we okay now? Okay. Can you hear me, sir?
now I can hear you.
Okay. So I was saying, do we need a pan Ladakh leader? Because that hasn't emerged in a long time.
It can never happen.
Why?
Because for a very long time, Ladakh was divided along the communal lines. From 1977 onwards, by Sheikh Abdullah's government,
Yes.
initially to make Ladakh as part of Greater Kashmir. So part of Ladakh, especially the western part of Ladakh, the Kargil area, would be included in Kashmir.
Yeah.
So, the pan-Kashmir idea was more popular then. So ever since the Ladakh never got
Sir,
united.
I'll just stop another another microphone on or any other device on?
No.
No. There is no device on. I don't know why I can hear it. There now. Okay, so you're saying that we can never have a pan Ladakh leader because of what Sheikh Abdullah did and how it was divided on communal lines. No. Okay, I think we are having a lot of issues today. So what we are going to do is we will end this here. We will request Ambassador, because we have a lot of questions that are coming and that we haven't asked. We need to ask Ambassador Stobdan. Ambassador, we need to get our thing fixed. I think there's an issue. I will connect with you again, and we will try to have another conversation pretty soon. I think this background noise and all this needs to be fixed first. So I will apologize to my viewers today. We will come back to the another conversation pretty soon with Ambassador. It was really warming up, and we were having a time. But let's do this next time. I will take leave of you right now. Thank you, Ambassador Stobdan, for your time. We will come back again and we will have another conversation with you, with Ambassador Stobdan, and we'll talk about all these important questions. Thank you. Please be connected. I apologize for today, but we'll be back soon. Thank you.